Okay, so hello guys, this is the day fifth of our daily meets. Uh, so in today meet, we only have two members in the meet. So each of you, I'll ask five questions, both of you. Okay, so without getting any delay, we'll start the meet. So start from the Shivani. Shivani, your question is what is synchronous and asynchronous?
Okay. Synchronous and asynchronous programming. Synchronous programming is basically when each line of code is executed, you have to complete the first task. After that, you can go to the other task until the first one is executing. Rest of the code will be blocked. In asynchronous programming, it allows you to basically run, or it's allow you to switch to the next task while waiting for the longer task to complete it. So asynchronous programming is quite efficient and make your code faster. We can implement it with the help of promises, callback functions. So yeah.
Shivani, you are correct. So basically, synchronous means code execution line by line in a sequence, and asynchronous means code execution is non-blocking. Uh, for example, set timeout, promises, async await. Okay, now it's time for Mahin. So Mahin, your question is what is debouncing?
Okay. Debouncing is a technique to execute or control I can say the API call or some delay if we want in certain in function. For example, I have one API that I want to call on a input of user. For example, search functionality. Okay, I don't want ki whenever user types something on my search bar and every time I will call the my API. It will be totally unfair. So what will I do? I will just make I will use debouncing technique where on a certain delay, for example, 3 millisecond or 5 millisecond or 2 3 second after when user will stop its typing and after 5 millisecond every 5 millisecond my API will call. Okay, and there's this after using this technique, I will optimize my code and I will give back my response. So this is how debunking is useful. This is what my
Yeah, absolutely correct. I'll rephrase your answer again. So basically, debouncing means limit how often a function executes by waiting until a certain time has passed since the last call. For example, search input that files API request only after the user stop typing. Okay, now it's time for uh Shivani again. So Shivani, your question is, what do you understand by memory management?
Okay. Memory management is basically a method by which JavaScript ensures that it is using our memory in a most efficient manner. For example, if some variables or objects are unreachable, means they are not in use in the program, it makes sure to reclaim the memory which is taken by that. Apart from this, make sure that preventing memory leakage and these things are making our application more efficient by optimizing our memory in a better manner. This is what for memory management stands for. It is executed with the help of garbage collection, which makes sure that okay, whenever variables are reachable are stay in our program, apart from other one is cleaned or removed from that program. So yeah, it's make our application more efficient only.
Okay, so yeah, you are absolutely correct. So basically, memory management is to allocate or distribute memory using a free memory efficiency to prevent memory leaks. Now it's time for Mahin again, and as we have our one of the new member also, Amit is there. So Amit, you can turn on your camera. Okay, so go ahead. Now it's time for Maheen, and then we will go with Amit. So Maheen, your question is, what is use ref?
Use ref. Okay. Use ref is a hook for functional based component. It's take a reference of DOM, and by using use ref, we can directly manipulate the DOM element in our React components. For example, I want to scroll down with my some div. For example, I have one div. I want to if it is scroll down, so I want to some apply some functionality. So I will just take ref equal to whatever ref I have used. And use ref is a we can change it directly. For unlike for use state we have a function set state and we have to use it. But the use state is a I can say it's a mutable. I can change it and I can take a reference of a DOM elements. I can manipulate them. So this is what use ref.
Okay, yeah, you are absolutely correct. Now it's time for Amit. So Amit, your question is, what do you understand by performance optimization, and how we can optimize the performance of our code?
Yes. So performance optimization is basically known as how efficient our code to run all the files and run all the code base. So whenever we write a code, we want it to make it performance so that the load on the PC or the load on the system is minimum. So there are multiple ways like memoization of functions, and there are use callback hooks. So there are different hooks and different methods to optimize our code. Firstly, the hook. So we have use memo and use callback. So these functions or these methods are basically used to cache our functions and cache our components. One is for functions, one is for components. So this makes sure that whenever any parameter changes onto the component, then it doesn't re-render the component again and again. And other is whenever we have a lot of complex functions that is executing a very complex code, then whenever the parameters or the variables inside that function is not changing, we want let that function to invoke. So this saves a little bit of time and saves the pressure on the CPU or the system. Other on the other side, we have a lot of patterns like lazy loading is there, which makes sure that the important aspects of a web page loads and then the images loads. So these are a few techniques and hooks and functions which we can use to optimize and make better code.
Okay, well explained, Amit. So there is one more thing is also code splitting, lazy loading, and memorization. These two that already you have covered. So code splitting basically means to split JavaScript bundles into smaller chunks to improve the performance of your entire application. Okay, so now it's time for Shivani again. Shivani, your question is, what is Redux flow?
Basically, Redux flow is that you are data is flowing through your application in a predictable manner. That okay, you can predict what will be the outcome after these operations. For now, I just know that much.
Okay, no issue. I'll change your question. Now your second question is, what is use memo?
Do you know?
Okay, no worries. Now it's time for Maheen. The same question is for you. What is use memo?
Use memo is also hook of the function based components in React, and it's for okay. So it's for the memoizing the some very like a calculation, like heavy calculation. If for example we have one calculations. Sorry for interaction. Sorry.
Yeah.
So use member is a function of is a hook of the function based component, and it's useful for storing a very heavy calculation or some heavy values. For example, I have one value which is calculating a form from very big numbers or something like that. So and I have some states. For example, if it is changed, so then my value should be changed. Okay, so I will add dependency. If it is changed, then my value should be changed. So it will optimize my code that this heavy calculation will be occur when my state will change. So use memory is generally for memorizing some value. It's just a hook to optimize our component and prevent to again re-rendering. So this is what
Yeah. Yeah, you are totally correct. Now, basically, use memo is one of the hook that basically memorize the value of recalculating only when the dependency changes. Now it's time for Amit. So Amit, your question is, what is TypeScript?
Okay. So TypeScript is basically a language. It is an extension of JavaScript. So in JavaScript we don't have a very strict type checking. We can change our type of a variable in the runtime as well, and in the course as well. But that doesn't. I mean that sometimes is very unpredictable, and it doesn't. We cannot predict the after values of the variable. So there we have one thing called TypeScript. So in TypeScript, we actually strictly define the type of a variable so that throughout the code we don't change it, or if it gets changed, so we handle it in the runtime or compile. So in short, TypeScript is basically an extension of the JavaScript with some features, added features, which makes sure that whenever a variable is declared or function is declared, the types of the parameters or the type of the variable is defined at the very starting of the code, so that the code is very predictable and it is readable.
Okay, so yeah, well answered, Amit. So basically, TypeScript is statically typed superset of JavaScript that helps catch errors easily. Okay, now it's time for Shivani. Shivani, this is the last round of the meeting. So your question is, wait a second. Yeah. So your question is, what is an API? You are in mute.
API basically help us to communicate, means whenever communication occur between softwares, it basically occurs because of API. API, we use API for different purposes. For example, if you want to ask for a data from a server, you will hit on the endpoint of API. Basically, it serves us the data after hitting that endpoint. So yeah, it's basically make easier to communicate, establishing communication between softwares.
Uh, okay. I'll rephrase your answer again. So basically, API is refers to application programming interface, and these are the set of rules and protocols that allows different software application to communicate with each other.
Hmm.
Uh, okay. So yeah. Now it's time for Mahin. So Mahin, your question is, uh, wait a second. Your question is, what is the difference between Express and HTTP?
okay. Express and STP. Okay. Express is the framework of Node.js, which by using Express we can create an optimized server. We can build optimized server from for backend side. And HTTP is the Node.js module. By using HTTP also we can build a server. But it's a little like a lengthy code I can say, or little not unread a lot little unreadable. but Express is very easy to use and very easy to build a server. And also there's a lots of features. For example, routers we can create. Okay, and also many features in Express. So this is the what mainly different between.
Okay, yeah, well said. Now it's time for Amit. So, Amit, your question is what is oops in JavaScript?
Okay. So OOPS basically stands for object-oriented programming. So it is a paradigm, just like we have a component structure in React. Similarly, we have a paradigm, or we can say a concept of OOPS. Here we actually consider all the data types or all the aspect of JavaScript as a object, because it is considered as an object-oriented programming. So here we have objects, and OOPS or object-oriented programming is basically has six pillars, six or five, I don't remember exactly. So there are polymorphism, there are encapsulation, and inheritance, and similar other aspects that I don't aware of. So yeah, so these things make sure that these things handle their respective positions. Like if we talk about encapsulation, so encapsulation concept makes sure that whenever we write a code, then the primary aspect or the private aspect remain enclosed, but the user can handle, or we can say the interact with some public methods. On the other hand, in inheritance makes sure that whenever we want to make the prototypical chain between two objects, inheritance takes care of that by making those things. Similarly, we have other things which is under their own respective headings. So yeah, this is all about about OOPS.
Okay. So, one cross question is for you. Why we use oops and what is the benefit of using oops? What are the benefits of using oops?
Okay, so as we know that OOPS has multiple benefits, like the six pillars that I have talked about. So by knowing all these things, we can actually implement those things in our code. For example, if we take a test case, or we can say a scenario where we want the user to interact with an object, like we don't want the user to directly access the properties of an object. So we have a name property or age property. So here we want to implement encapsulation so that we make sure that these properties remain private to the project, like the end user cannot access it. But we want to let the user interact with the properties, like we want them to change the age or get the age. So there we would provide some methods for the user to interact with the object. So here we will make public methods. So by implementing encapsulation, we are making some data private, and we are letting the user to interact with the data by some public methods. Similarly, we have inheritance. So inheritance works the same way, like when we want to make the prototypical chain. So here we can see that there are some concept, or there are some use cases that can be handled by knowing the concept of oops. So yeah, that's why these are the benefits, and that's why we should use oops and study it.
Okay, well, okay, well explained. So basically, oops makes JavaScript application more maintainable, scalable, and reusable. And there are four pillars of oops only: encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, and polymorphism. So encapsulation means hide internal details. Abstraction means expose only necessary parts. Inheritance means reuse your code via extents, and polymorphism means different behavior for the same method. Okay, for this, we will end the meet. That's all for today. We will meet you guys tomorrow with new sets of questions. Thank you so much.